So Shift, Control and N, and I'm going to rename this layer, and I'm going to call this one Depth of Field. You can call it whatever you like. You can call it Depth Vision, Blurring, or whatever you like, really, just as long as you know what you've done with the layer. I'm going to go Image, Apply Image, and again, just to explain the Apply Image, it just copies everything on the layers below, or everything that can be seen on the layer, onto a new layer. And then we're going to go Filter, Blur, and I'm going to hit Gaussian Blur in this one. I'm going to leave it at around 2 pixels, and then I'm going to grab the Eraser tool here, because as you can see, everything's a little bit too blurred. We don't want everything this blurred, and I'm going to erase around the focal point, like so, and other areas as well, that maybe don't need to be blurred as much in the areas around the focal. And then we're going to repeat a similar process. We're going to create another new layer. I'm going to call this Depth of Field 2. And I'm going to go Image, Apply Image again. And we're going to go Filter, Sharpen, Sharpen. And this just creates a little bit more depth. I'm going to erase again the areas that look over sharpened and the areas that don't need to be in focus as much as the area here that is in focus, or the focal point. And now we've got the depth of field done to an extent. So we're going to create a new layer here, and we're going to apply image again, and this time we're going to create some lighting effect. So I'm going to go Render, Lighting Effects, and I quite like the Omni tool for this lighting effect. I'm going to put this just over the focal point. I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to put that on lighting, and I'm going to lower it down to 46% opacity, just so that it's not too overpowering. And I also want to inject some colour with that, so I'm going to create a new layer again and put Brush Light as the name. And I'm going to get Brush Tool, the Soft Edge Brush Tool, quite large, and I'm going to click an orange. And this needs to be slightly bigger. I've gone for 150, no, a little bit bigger still, 201 I've gone for. So brush into the area of the light source, and I'm going to shove that on linear dodge and lower that opacity down to around 27%. And again, there you go, there's a little bit of orange in there. You might want to raise that up a little bit more, just so the orange comes through, like so. And now what I'm going to do is just improve that lighting a little bit further. So if you create the new layer again, and take Burn, and I'm going to Image, Apply Image again, and then grab your Burn tool. And all you're going to do with another soft brush here is just burn the edges of the image, and the edges where, if you look at the light source, when you create the depth, when you create the depth field, you need to look at where the light source is, and then brush on with the burn tool where the light wouldn't be getting. So everywhere, maybe this cylinder type thing here would block the light, so this side would be quite dark, and the edges where the light source isn't would be quite dark as well, and like so. As you can see there, it's made a big difference on the actual colour and the lighting. What I'm going to do here though is I'm going to add a curves layer. So if you come back down to this black and white here, and all this does is links us to the particular layer styles, and I'm going to hit curves. So with curves layer, basically just adjusts the lighting of an image, and you can select the areas on it. So if we go up, for example, so I had a point there, move that, you can see there, depending on what side of light it is, it either goes darker or lighter. and kind of can fully distort the image, but we don't want to do that. We just want to slightly affect it like this. There you go, it just darkens the image overall a bit more. At this point I added another gradient map. So I'll go ahead and create another gradient map. This one was orange, the orange I used for the light source, and a white, which isn't in the default pack. So if you just click the palette here and you click the colour on the far right hand side and you shove that all the way to white, like so, and just make sure it is orange to white, because if it was white to orange it'd look like this, it'd look like it'd been put in negative scale. So make sure it is orange to white. I'm going to set this gradient map to soft light, and then I'm going to lower that opacity down to around 35–34%. There we go, so it looks a little bit warmer. And then added a photo filter. So I'm going to go ahead and add a purple photo filter in this, or a violet photo filter. 25% density, 100% opacity, and on normal, just so that it wasn't too monochrome with the orange, because I felt there was a little bit too much orange in the overall image. So then what you want to do is, or what I did, is create a new layer and apply image yet again. And there's a cool little filter. So if you go in the filter menu up top and you go to stylize glowing edges, and what this does is something similar to this. You can mess around with the settings on the right hand side here. You can make it the edge width of each edge thicker, but I prefer the thinner ones. You can make it brighter. I prefer the brightness to be in the middle at around 7, and you can also make it less smooth or more smooth depending on what kind of look you're after. I want it quite smooth here, so I'm going to leave it at 13. Hit OK. And this layer we want it set into, and you can choose between lighten or screen depending how obvious you want. You can use it to linear dodge if you'd like. I'm going to leave it on lighten, and then I'm going to distort this layer. So I'm going to go filter, distort, and wave, and you can just hit randomize here for as many times as you want until you get something that looks pretty cool. So that's something you like. I'm just going to choose that for now. And then I'm going to mess with the opacity slightly because I don't want it too visible, and then erase all the distracting areas over the focal and around the edges, just generally the areas that I don't want to be there. So if we just unhide that, you can see it gives it a little groovy effect. Looks like a rainbow over it. That is just about everything. I think after that I will add one of my favourite gradient map kind of styles, just by adding black to white and shoving it on luminosity, like so. And then after that, really, you are done. You can add some text if you'd like, but I've seen so many people kind of put text wherever they feel like it. They just shove it in the corner of the image or something like that, and something that just generally doesn't look nice. I wouldn't advise doing that. I would say if you're going to be adding text, take your time with it. It's as much of part of the image as anything else. And so with that in mind, you would really want to kind of invest in fonts from Dafont, and generally just make your font look kind of half decent. For instance, if you just did that in orange, slapped it there, that wouldn't look very good. As you can see, it doesn't. So generally how I like to do it is I would use a simple font like Arial, sir. For this particular image I use an Arial font in white, on a fairly small size, like so, and then you can use subtext, and then you can put colour in the subtext, and then you can give it kind of, if I use my handwritten font that I had, like so, and then you can put that kind of behind the original font, just so it's obvious that it's kind of like a sub font. Looks a little bit better. It's not the best font I've ever done, but I'm just going to show you guys how to create a border around an image as well, because I realised I hadn't done that yet. So create a new layer, put a stroke or border. On Photoshop, the border is called a stroke. And all you're going to do here is highlight all by clicking Control and A. You're going to go Edit, Stroke, and then you've got the settings here. How wide would you like it? I'll just hit 5 now, so you can see how obvious it is. And I'm going to the colour of it, so I'm going to hit the black. You got inside, centre, or outside. This is the location where it always placed. Inside will mean it'll cut into the image. Your centre, it'll mix between inside and outside, and your outside, it'll obviously be outside the image. Your blending mode, you generally want to keep this on normal. But yeah, I mean, you can, if you want to play around, you can play around with this. Opacity, 100%. I'm going to leave that as that, and I'm going to hit OK. So there you go. There is your stroke, and that's another image for us. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hope it's going to help you. And leave the video a comment and a like rating if you would be so kind, and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more videos in the future. I've got my website up and running now, and I would like to point out that it isn't a final design of the website. There will be a lot of updates coming out for it in the summer. I've got a forum planned for discussion and things like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button, give us a comment, give us a like, and happy designing, guys. Enjoy.